Welcome back to Trapani's Choice, episode 18. Your host, Nick Trapani. Conspiracy theories is the topic today, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my discussion with a very good friend of mine, Gary Lee. We have had thousands of discussions about numerous different conspiracy theories and topics, and it's a topic that I have been into since I was in high school, and really since when I could start to think for myself and start to realize that these massive organizations around me weren't probably telling me the truth. There's bands that I'm into. I've got a tattoo of Head PE, which is a band that are right into conspiracy theories. I have it on my foot as a little sign of always take the steps into looking into the truth myself and not just being believed in everything that I'm told. So this was a discussion that I had with Gary that is a topic that I love. So I can't wait to have more of these discussions on the podcast. And I hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. Let's get into it. Gary Lee. So welcome, Gary. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How you going?
Yeah, I'm good. So conspiracy theories, what does that mean for you, the word? Crazy person, or is it truth movement for you?
Oh, it's a bit of column A, bit of column B. It depends where you go, really. I mean, there's I suppose it's like everything. There's some crazies in every movement, isn't there? So
definitely in this episode, there's some crazies too.
Oh yeah, a couple of nutbags. I like how you've got the resident nutcase to come and join you for the day.
Yeah. But you're looking well, mate. I haven't been able to see you for about 8 weeks now, I think it is. And, you're looking good. You're looking fresh.
Yeah, other than the hair, because obviously the barber's still shut. Yeah. I managed to see you managed to get yourself get your hair done.
I did it myself, actually. I did the sides and I got Fiona to do the back, and I've just thrown the top of the hair back. So
yeah, nice. Good one. I like the jumper as well. The hoodie, where'd you get that from?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Actually, one of my cousins has started his own business. He's a young kid, him and his mate, they started The Oak. So
yeah, nice. Good
check
one.
out their website, man. It's actually really comfortable. So, when you buy something you buy something and you don't know the quality is amazing. I put it on. I haven't taken it off in 2 weeks.
Yeah, nice. Good one. Yeah,
it's good, man. They're awesome. Yeah, so The Oaks. And especially in this time, it's hard enough just trying to do anything, let alone starting up a clothing company in a pandemic. You can't get out, promote. So good on him for getting out there and doing it.
Yeah, grouse. I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, get on it, mate. They're on. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook. The Oaks Clothing Company.
Yeah, grouse fun. I'll have a gawk.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, let's get into the topic. So, as I first said, that the first for me was 9/11, and it's a very, very touchy subject. And also, we just passed the anniversary of it, and so there's a lot of mixed feelings by it. So I don't want to get into any of the the sort of feeling side, or putting on beliefs and things of it, because we don't, to this day, I still don't know what happened. I looked over it, and in the beginning you're like, it has to be this person, it has to be that person, but I still now more so think that I've got no clue of what happened that day.
Oh no, I don't think anyone does, and that's the thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you kind of have to take it at face value sometimes, I guess. What you're told is what you're told. Whether you think it, whether you believe it, I don't know. I mean, it's up to the individual, I guess. But yeah, no, it's definitely a touchy subject. When you're talking three odd thousand lives on the day, and I mean, even since you look at it, from the amount of asbestos and all those sort of things that were, because they were the towers were built in the 70s, I think 76 or something like that. The amount of asbestos and things in there. So since they've come down and all the, the dust clouds that everyone remembers see them flying down the streets, everyone running away from. I mean, I don't even want to know what the tally's up to of deaths from that. These, to
Well,
date.
I'm pretty sure that more people have died since. I could be
Yeah.
completely wrong with that, but I think more
No,
people have died
definitely.
since that
No,
from
you are
asbestos. And that's
right.
actually
Yeah.
that's one of the points of the conspiracy theory, so to speak. And none of these are my facts either. These are just things that you hear within the the world of conspiracy or on documentaries. One of the things was apparently there was a document released to just the general public that the air was safe to breathe. So when you look at footage of the cleanup crew, you had like the agents and everything like that in full hazmat suits, and just the general public and the police and the fireys in there with no masks on, nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah. Well, they were told that. Yeah, they were told that that the air was safe to breathe. They had what are they called? The EPA come in. I think it was on the day, and I think they actually had them staged there for a couple of days. Excuse me, to keep monitoring the air, and they were saying it was fine. It was good to breathe. There was no problems. How the hell they got it that wrong, I've got no idea. Because I mean, I don't care what it is. If there's that kind of dust getting around, it can't be safe. I mean, I work in the building industry, and really, really limited amounts of dust. And who the hell in the building industry doesn't know to put a mask on? Doesn't mean everyone does, but we know you should, and that anyone that came on site would tell you to do so. So how they didn't, I don't know. But at the end of the day, there's definitely a lot more deaths now, and so you got to be careful with this sort of stuff, because it's not just a case of not only that no one really knows what went on, but when you start pointing fingers and saying things, you've got to think of the implications of that. There are families missing members, and
that's right.
Some that don't even know what happened to them. Some managed to get a few body parts back or whatnot, and some didn't. So you got to be careful with that sort of stuff.
That's right. So, and it's such a touchy subject, but one of the things that I find very interesting about the whole thing is that with the inquiry into Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, they spent $50 million on that inquiry. And apparently with 9/11, they only spent $15 million. And you would think for like a world, like this shocked the world, you would think that there was a lot more money that went in. So that to me was like just a starting point of there's something not right here.
Yeah.
Do you know? You know what I mean? Like,
it is pretty stinky, isn't it? I mean, it's still to this day. I mean, like you say, the anniversary's just gone again, and still to this day, they spend thousands every year having the memorial. I mean, me and Jess, my wife, were there 2000, or was it the 10-year anniversary? We were there at the time.
Yeah.
And we couldn't really get on the site because they were, they had all the ceremonies going on and whatnot. But, they spend thousands on that every year, and they read out every name, and they ring the bells, and they do all that sort of stuff, and which is great for the families. But yeah, if they spend thousands on that, how the hell could they only spend whatever number it was you said on an inquiry?
That's what I've heard. 15 million. Yeah. Once again, all my facts aren't from, these are from documentaries that I've watched online. Like Loose Change is a great documentary on it all. I'm sure you've seen that one, and Zeitgeist. And I want to get into the Zeitgeist a little bit later.
Oh, God, that's deep. God. I've seen that all sorts of Incan inscriptions underneath the towers or something. Like,
there's a lot of work that go into conspiracy theories, and that's one thing that I like about it, because if you give enough sort of facts and you put big words in there, and people will start believing what you're saying. They just go, well, he must be right because what he's saying is, it sounds right.
But it's the thing. I mean, it's a very human thing, the whole confirmation bias. This is what I believe, and this person says something along those lines, so he must be correct. Whereas someone that goes against their feelings, or their thoughts on the matter, they don't want to hear it. So the confirmation bias is a big thing, you know. You want to hear what you already know or what you think you know. And so when someone comes along with that to back you up, you go, I knew it. I knew I was right. Doesn't mean you are.
Yeah.
Just doesn't mean he is. But you get that and you run with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one big thing about like conspiracy theories from going the other way is that people don't want to believe in it because it brings down their whole foundations. Everything that they've been told, you know, what I just touched on before with religion. I was brought up in a Catholic school. You know, my parents weren't overly religious. I don't really remember ever going to church with them. It was never something that was pushed hard, but it was just, I went to Catholic school. So that's what you're taught. So these people that you look up to are telling you this stuff. And I remember looking into it around that time, what I was saying, year 10, 11, I really started to rebel. I'm like, you know, how many people would get baptized if it was their choice at 16 rather than a baby? And, you know, why does a church need so much money and all these types of things? And I started questioning all the stories, like how did Noah get all these animals into the ark, you know, like all these ridiculous things.
Yeah, I love that. The penguins traveled all the way through the Mojave Desert to get on a fucking boat, you know.
But when you break down that, like someone that has been brought up religious, that they believe the government are here really to look after us and they don't have any other agendas other than looking after us. Once you break that wall down, like people can be really scared. You know, that can change their whole life.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's difficult because, you know, I guess to some degree you want people to just to open their mind and to actually listen, find their own information, find their own sources and try and search for the truth. But I think some people just don't have the brain capacity to decipher what's true and correct and what's false. And by that stage, sometimes they're already too far down the garden path to really turn back. You know, they're stuck in their own mindset with, this is what I know and this is the way it happened. And anyone that agrees with me, and anyone who doesn't is full of crap, basically.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why, like, when I look into sort of things like this, I don't look at everything as fact or anything like that. One thing that was really on the day, like if you were watching any of the news on the day of it, when they were reporting and speaking to like the people who were in there, the fireys and everything, they all spoke about like explosions going off. There was explosions in the basement, you know. So when I hear like little facts, like, or when I say facts, little things like that someone has said that was there, I sort of look at that and I take that more on board than something else that, you know, doesn't, you know, you can read between the lines of it. It may not be true. It may be, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You've either got to, you've got to decide whether you want to believe some bureaucrat that's telling you something, because, you know, he's been given all the information and it's all been pulled to him and he's then made a story of it and handed it out. Or do you do that and believe people that were actually there, that, you know, that saw things and heard things and discussed things with other people? Because at the same time that they are still not just because they were there, they're also, I can't think of the word, but they're also not 100% guaranteed to be correct, because when you're in a situation like that, you're in shock, or, you know, you might see things or hear things a little different, you know, or you might even, you know, exactly what you heard, but then 2 hours goes past or 3 hours or a month goes past before you're interviewed about it, and your brain may have shut something out, or you just don't remember it the way it actually did happen. So it's tough. It's really hard to work out what's right and what's wrong, and but that's the whole thing. I don't think we're ever going to know, you know. And
we're never going to know. And look, what I really, and the reason why I like it is because they do go into so many, like, you know, the facts and everything that they have, or the information that they have, or they're giving. The work that's put in, that's what I really like. So a couple of the other little, we'll just talk about a couple of the other little facts that I keep saying facts, but I don't know if they're actually facts. So the Pentagon, hit the Pentagon. So supposedly the direction that the plane was coming in at the Pentagon, it had to do a 90-degree turn or something in the air.
Yeah, 90-degree corkscrew turn, yeah.
Yeah, so it could have come directly down and hit it, but supposedly it hit the only wall that was actually reinforced to take an attack. And supposedly the guy who hijacked that plane failed his pilot license test. So when they were watching that from the radar, they thought it was a fighter jet. They couldn't believe that a plane of that size would be doing a turn like that, let alone a pilot or a guy that failed a pilot license test. So unless he had some serious
I remember that one. I remember that one really well because it made me piss myself because I remember seeing because the guy who the hijacker who crashed that plane into the Pentagon, he did his flight course with some bloke from Dallas, a real thick
that's right.
Dallas accent. And I remember watching him talk, and someone was interviewing him, and they said, "Do you know Muhammad? So whatever his name was, it was something along those lines. Do you remember him? Oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah, well, he was one of the guys who, he did a 90-degree corkscrew turn and crashed his plane into the Pentagon." He goes, "That damn guy couldn't even fly a Cessna." Like you say, he failed his flight course flying a 2-ton Cessna or something. Like how that even trained pilots said it's a difficult thing. So I don't know.
That's one of the things. And there was also the actual hole in the Pentagon wasn't big enough for the plane, and it didn't touch the ground. Nothing. So where it hit the wall, you would expect it to scrape the ground, and there wasn't really anything left, was there, of the plane?
No, the only thing that they found there was as it came down, it came across the gardens, and they have like lighting poles. The wingtip hit the lighting poles and ripped some of the lighting poles out of the ground as it went through, and then when it hit it, there's pretty much a perfect circle. There wasn't any wings there, and you'd think, okay, well, if the wings themselves didn't actually penetrate the building, you'd expect them to have sheared off and they'd be on the ground, but they didn't find anything. They
didn't find anything. Yeah,
and then you look after that. I think why a lot of people then moved on from that, especially with the Pentagon side of things, was because the day after, the CIA and the NSA went to all of the shops in the neighborhood. There was a 7-Eleven that had a perfect view and a few others, and they took all the surveillance footage, and it's never been released, So I think that's what drives more people to go, well, why the hell did they take it? What are they hiding? So
why wouldn't you? Yeah, why wouldn't they have shown that footage? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I've
only seen one grainy, I don't know if you probably would have seen it. There's one sort of grainy
I think so.
video.
You can't really tell what it is.
Yeah, and the frames are so slow on it that you see a white thing. What the hell it is, who knows? But you see a white thing and then a pile of flames and then smoke. And that's it, and because it's sort of the frames sort of move, like that. They're so slow that you really can't tell. And everyone's like, really? That's where you're going to, this is surveillance of the Pentagon. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
That's right.
The average Joe's got a better surveillance camera for his garden in Broadmeadows. You know what I mean? Like,
but then I love it.
Fire,
I think the other one that really fuels the fire is the passport being found. So nothing else was found of the plane. I think there was I can't remember of how many filing cabinets in the Twin Towers with all paperwork, everything like that, all disintegrated. Nothing. They didn't find one filing cabinet, let alone anything. Yeah. But yet the passport, which is paper as well, was found on the ground.
It was found on the ground. With a full set of dentals and his DNA. It's amazing. The thing is, though, the thing about it, right, is that could be the case. Seriously, I mean, stranger things have happened. But it just doesn't help. People going, this doesn't pass the sniff test.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you actually put me on to a lady talking, Judy Wood, I think her name was. And was she? Is she a forensic scientist or what was she? I can't remember.
She's a professor of. She's a engineering professor of some sort. I can't remember what field, but she's a professor in some form of engineering anyway.
Yeah. And I remember she spoke a lot about like free energy and things like that, the way that these columns were manipulated and that there was like cars on top of other cars, but yet a car closer to the scene was fine.
Yeah. Well, they found cars on, well, it was on the other side of the East River. They found cars that were, one normal, one stacked upside down on top of it. Both of them on fire. I mean, well, actually not even on fire. The paint was gone off the cars. So they were down to almost look like polished stainless metal. The plastic door handles were gone. The interior was gone. All that sort of stuff, but the cars. I mean, why the hell they were all stacked on top of each other? But we were on the other side of the East River. I think it's something like 3.5 k's across to where that was. So why? It just makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, so there's a lot of. I mean, look, we could go on and on about it. That's a great little talk documentary sort of to watch if it's still around. It might have been taken off.
No, it's still there. What is it? It's called Where Did the Towers Go?
Yeah. Because with the cars, there was no glass found. Like it wasn't shattered like where you would expect, just disintegrated, gone.
Yeah, just gone. Yeah.
And from memory, the way that the paint sort of stripped up the car, like you're saying, it might like a flame you would expect, like to flow, and it might be sort of, curved up, pattern up. Whereas this was just straight down, and then there'd be paint. Whereas on the other side, it'd be completely stripped to nothing.
Yeah, and it's like you say, there's sort of like a defined line of bare polished metal and then pristine paint. I mean, not even covered in dust. It was a pristine white paint. You can see the E from the end of Police still written on the cockpit. What the bloody hell happened? Where did it? How the hell does that happen? But I think the main thing I liked with her, honestly, was just the way she went about, because she doesn't really push anything on you. She just kind of and like I say, the name of what was it? Where Did the Towers Go? And that's kind of what the whole talk is about. And it's a really great question. Where the hell did they go? Because there really wasn't all that much rubble left over. When you think the size of those towers, there really wasn't a great deal left.
There wasn't much left. And I guess you put it perfect. She didn't push anything on you, and she didn't make anything up. Because a lot of times she said, I can't say what this is, so we're going to have to make a new word because we've never seen it before. You know what I mean? So she didn't push anything onto you. She's like, I can't tell you what happened here. All I can tell you is this is the outcome of it. So we're going to make up this name for it.
That's right. Yeah,
I think the furry effect or fuzzy effect or
dustification. She was saying
dustification.
The buildings didn't actually. I mean, she said, here on the slide, this is a building being demolished, and he shows a video of it falling down. This is a building on fire. This is a building of blah, blah, blah. And she says, and this is the towers. It doesn't fall into any of those categories. So we can't really say that it fell down. We can't say that it was brought down. We can't say that it was on fire. We need a new word because, it doesn't fall into any of those categories. And that's what was interesting about it.
And what also doesn't fall into the categories is Tower 7 that no one likes to talk about. I think 3 levels were on fire.
And 7 through till 11 or something were on fire,
And supposedly there was a reporter reporting it while it was still in the background. Do you see that footage that she's like, Building 7 has come down, it was still in the background?
I know, the producer's kind of like, not yet.
It's still there, wait, 2 minutes.
Well, there's another sort of famous clip there from the media from the day. I think it was, Anderson Cooper. I think she's like glasses, blonde, slick back hair. I think it was him, to be honest. I might be wrong, but him from the day. And this is another big thing that people talk about, where he says, "Have they pulled it yet?"
Yeah, I remember that.
On live TV, he says, "Have they pulled it yet?" And people go, "Well, why the hell would he say, have they pulled it? Does that mean?" Because generally, pull is a term they use for demolition.
Demolition. Yeah.
And so it's just it drove people wild. People went crazy. And you can kind of look at it and go, "Well, so they should," but at the same time, it's like just hold on.
Just stop. Yeah. Well, and I mean, we could go on for hours and hours and talk about all the different things, but I think the point of this is just to point out a couple of little things about it that we found interesting, because there is just, and this is why it's one of the most interesting ones that we'll never know, because there's just so many of these little facts. And that's where I don't understand, where people just complain or just, black and white say, well, this is what it was because we were told. But there's a lot of little things with it that I question. I go, but how can you look past that without an answer? I'm not saying I know.
Yeah.
And that,
well, I think
question.
I think that's the thing. A lot of people fall into the two categories, though. They either just want to get the hell on with their life and just blasé and just move on. And I don't care. I don't want to know. If this is what they say, maybe I believe it, maybe I don't. This is what the conspiracy theorists say. Maybe I believe it, maybe I don't. The point is, I don't care either way. I just want to get on with my life.
I just want to get on. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to hear about this crap. Life's hard enough. I don't want to hear about, anything. I'm just worried about what goes on in my little circle, and I just want to get along, because everything else is just too bloody difficult.
Yeah. And that's what's happening a lot at the moment with our lockdowns in Victoria, where we've been locked in for, I think, is it 8 weeks now?
Yeah, 8 weeks going on.
8 weeks that we've been, that we're locked in. And there's actually a court case going on at the moment. This is one of my favourite points. There's a court case going on at the moment because we have a curfew. It started off at 8 p.m. It moved to 9 p.m. when for daylight savings. So we're given an extra hour. And our numbers are going down. So something is working, supposedly. And but the curfew, the way that it was done, no one's taking ownership for it, which means that Dan Andrews just did it himself. And supposedly you need the chief of police or the health minister to allow it, and that's not what's happened. So it goes against human rights if that's the case. And people are just go, oh, but he's doing the right thing. Yeah. But if he was doing the right thing, there wouldn't be a court case. So how can you look past it?
Yeah, I know. See, and that sort of goes to the point again of, some people just, they don't care. They just want to get along. They might look at it and go, it's a human rights violation. I shouldn't be locked in, and I shouldn't do this, and I shouldn't that. But I don't care. I just want it over, And
I just want it over, yeah.
And I think it's difficult for the non-believers, the ones that are sort of pushing against the system and really screaming from the highest tower that this isn't right and you shouldn't have done this, and the anti-maskers, I guess you'd call them, and the anti-lockdown people. I mean, they are fighting for the cause and all this sort of shit, and you can. I mean, I can understand. I can't understand what they're, the things that they think and they're not happy about it. No one's happy about it. And then the other people kind of bash heads with them and say, well, can't you just get on with it? We all want to be out of this. But I think if you do, it's so difficult for them to do that, because I guess in order for them to do that, they have to give up everything they believe, and they don't want to.
And this is my theory at the moment, because, like I've swayed back and forth and back, and I like to think of everything and look at everything. And the biggest issue that I sort of feel at the moment, one, we just all need to work together. And the problem that I'm finding, you see it on social media and everything. So these anti-maskers, let's call them, they believe that they're doing the right thing for humanity. They're not just doing it for themselves because they want to get outside and whatever. They actually believe that everything's gone against human rights, and that this virus doesn't exist to the extent of what, there's many different theories. We won't get into them, but they believe that they're doing the right thing for people. And then you've got people who disagree with them, arguing with them on social media, to just do what they're told so that we can get through this. But what everyone just has to understand is we all just need to stop the arguing together, work together, because everyone's stressed. No one actually knows. This is a pandemic, right? We've never been in a pandemic like this before. So no one has the right answer. And that's why everyone's shooting at everyone, that blame this person, blame that person, to try and relieve some of their stress on it. But everyone just needs to act nicely to each other rather than fight. All I'm seeing is fighting at the moment, and it's childish. We should be above that, right? We should be able to work together and get through this without bullshit.
That is a perfect world. I just don't think it's possible anymore.
It's not.
Everyone's involved. Years ago, no one gave a shit about politics. No one cared. No one bothered. Nowadays, everyone's involved in politics and armchair politics, Facebook politics, and and everyone knows better than everyone else. And the problem with it is the media fuel the whole thing, and everything they put out, it's so divisive. And like you say, there's two sides. You're either with me or you're against me. And we can't get along. We will not get along because you say this and you're wrong.
Yeah.
They just won't. They won't.
They won't. Yeah.
It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs, but how do you get around it? And
you can't.
You can't get around
it. So
look, it's like they want to fight.
I think our numbers are very low at the moment. I think there was there 5 cases in the last 24 hours. So look, we're going. Something's working, so we just all need to stick together and work together. But the next, I guess conspiracy theory that I want to talk about is actually quite funny because I don't know a lot about my grandfather. All my grandparents sort of died when I was on my dad's side. I never met them, and my grandmother died when I was quite young, and then my grandfather moved to the country, so I didn't spend a lot of time with him to get to know who he was as a person. But maybe I get this a little bit from him because one thing that he, to the day he died, swore was that no one had ever been to the moon. And to think even back then, with everything, because I sort of look at it now where we've got the internet, we've got all this information. You could just look up anything. How did he come to these conclusions then when it was happening that no one ever went to the moon?
Well, that's the thing. Now, like you say, we have, we've got the information available. So, you can just do a Google search and look for things on both sides, whether we did go to the moon, whether we didn't go to the moon, you can find either. The problem is, to some degree, there's almost too much information to decipher through. So there's so many conspiracy theories about whether it is or isn't true on both sides of the fence that to get to the bottom of it, you'd be there forever. Whereas I think in his generation, you didn't have that. So it was...
No.
Yeah, I think it was probably a case of, okay, well, the news told you this, what happened and whatnot. But then maybe, I don't know, they had friends that were involved or friends of friends or cousins or something along the line that maybe worked for NASA or knew someone that did or worked for newspapers that covered it and got a bit of an inside scoop. But so I don't know.
My grandfather always worked for the newspaper, actually. That's an interesting point.
There you go. Because, really, newspapers at the end of the day are generally the place where a lot of these conspiracy theories are born because, we hear it all the time now, whistleblowers, the whistle,
That's
the
right.
inside man goes to the newspaper and blows the lid on some big story to get 100K in his pocket, not realising the implications of what he's done because people are going to argue about it for the next millennia. So,
but I think the biggest thing at the time was that Russia, there was a fight between, for the world, the first person to get to the moon, wasn't it? It was Russia versus America, really, who could get there first. And that's why they say that it was never done because the Americans supposedly beat the Russians. So,
the JFK era. I remember that.
I remember
reading about it years ago that push and how it was so much back and forth between the two of them on who was going to make it there first. And I think that's kind of what bred a lot of this. Was America seemed to be so far away, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Yep, we're going next week." So
yeah, we're packing our bags, we're going. Because I read an article just recently last year, and it said that because one of the big things is no one's ever been back to the moon, and this article said that Russia was planning to go to the moon again and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be a 5-year work in progress, like to get there.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, well, if America has been, the information's out there now, why would it take 5 years?
Well, because that's a big thing, because a lot of people have asked. That's where a lot of these theories have come from as well. A lot of the Americans have asked the government, well, why didn't we go back? If there's so much to explore and there's so much to see and so much to learn about Earth, the moon, the sun, other planets, everything, why the hell haven't we gone back? We have the technology to do it then. Why don't we do it? And like I say, I think this is what's fueled it is the American government turned around and said, oh, well, for privacy reasons, we destroyed the blueprints for, how we created the lunar vehicle or whatever. We destroyed the documents and we don't have the technology to do that anymore. It's like, hang on. So in 1969, you had this technology and now you don't. I mean, you think about just the size of like a storage card, like on a computer. They were the size of a house. Now you can fit one the size of your fingernail. Like, how does technology go backwards? And so people go, well, how could you do it then and you can't do it now? It makes no sense.
The one thing that I find amazing is that with the technology that we have today, how many times have you been on a video call to someone and it drops out, or you got the worst internet connection or whatnot? Because there's the movie The Dish, where it sort of explains a lot about putting the dish in Australia, the satellite dish, where they were beaming it and they were filming it live. We couldn't do that today.
I know.
We fucking couldn't do it today. With supposedly 5G, we wouldn't be able to film live from the moon and broadcast it with clarity to be able to hear. It'd be dropping out. They'd lose connection.
Well, I mean, but it is tough though, because we've now discovered the flat Earth. So how do you, without the curve, how do we get the?
We can't even get into the flat Earth. But that is one thing as well. Is the Earth and the moon? It's all related, but we've never seen an unphotoshopped image of the Earth, have we? From satellites and things like that. I think it's all, but there is a website. I think it's a Japanese website you can go to, where you can. They do upload images. I think every hour of the Earth or something. Okay. I can't remember the name of it, but in terms of like an image of the Earth, they're all doctored. It's not. There's nothing. There's no raw footage.
Well, I mean, there's probably plenty to hide. Even if you go on.
I think it's got a fat ass. It goes, just touch that up.
Well, you go on,
how dare you take it like that?
Just Google Earth, and there's a lot of, anything they don't want you to see is fuzzed out, it's, or quite literally removed. I've looked at a few things on Google Earth. I mean, it was a couple of years back, and then actually completely removed, like even Area 51, they've actually removed some of the outbuildings, and I know that they're there because I've been there. Not in the place, but on the road outside of the fence line. I know that they're there, but they're not there on the thing. They're not on Google Earth. So I don't know. You're probably never going to get a true picture. So,
and speaking of Area 51, the biggest question of them all, and one of the reasons why they believe that they didn't go back to the moon was because supposedly they did come in contact with aliens, and they told them to never come back. They said, "Get the fuck out of here! Don't ever come back. This is my house." But if this is one thing Do you believe there's aliens?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't. You know what? I don't. I don't believe. It's difficult because it's the second you don't respond no to that question, you sound like a fucking nutcase.
I'm a
But
nutcase. I'm a
yeah,
nutcase. I believe they exist.
I see. That's the thing. I don't believe in aliens how we know aliens.
No. Yeah.
I believe that there's something out there. 100%. There's absolutely there has to be something out there. It's just like humans to be so vain as to think we're the only things
Yeah.
around. You know, we're so narcissistic.
I am the biggest narcissist too, which is strange that I then believe that there's other life form out there.
Yeah. But it is. You know, I don't know. I don't believe. You know, in the whole. I mean, it's not that I don't believe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't like to sit here and say, yeah, I believe in the whole sort of, you know, head shape with the big black eyes, white, skinny guy, you know. I mean,
No.
not necessarily that, but I believe there's something out there. There's got to be. There has to be something, you know. I mean,
With the universe, yeah.
if there's
Sorry.
water
Yeah.
on other planets, if we've, you know, if
Yeah.
we've discovered water elsewhere, I mean, water is life, you know. And I mean,
That's right.
everywhere we've ever discovered that we found water, we found life forms.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
they're in an infantile stage at the moment and they're only algae or microorganisms or something, and will eventually develop into, you know, humans or similar, you know, like evolve over time. I don't know, but there's something out there. There has to be.
I think for me as well, it's like one of those things that I just want it to be true. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be true so bad that there is something else out there, and that maybe one day we will find out. We will come in contact. I don't think it's going to be like what you're saying. I don't think it's what everyone thinks that it is. You know, they're obviously just going to be a civilization like us.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like they're
Yeah.
coming in here to attack us or to take over or whatnot. They could be watching.
Yeah.
I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there was aliens living among us now. I
Yeah.
really wouldn't.
Yeah,
If they're
fair
watching
enough.
what we're doing. I think octopuses are aliens. That's how messed up I am in the head. I honestly
Yeah.
do. Like they're a messed up creature, and
Yeah.
there's nothing like them. I watched a documentary on Netflix recently where this guy went to visit an octopus every day for a year and
Yeah.
actually formed a relationship, so to speak, with this
Yeah,
octopus.
I've heard about that. What's it called again?
Oh,
I've heard
jeez.
about that.
My octopus teacher or something.
That's it. Yeah, I heard about
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
mate. They're
Oh,
aliens.
yeah. Oh, they are weird things. Yeah.
They're weird things, you know. And I think they're 90% water. You know, like that's why
Yeah.
they can get in. There's no bone structure. They can get into anything, get
Yeah.
out of anything.
Yeah.
A shark ate its arm, one of its arms, and it went
Yeah.
back to its den. And I don't want to spoil the show for anyone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it took months, but it grew its arm back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It grew its arm back, so it's functional
Yeah.
again.
So it's kind of like because the things do that as well. Axolotls, the Mexican walking fish, they, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and lizards as well. They, you know, you can cut.
So you're saying they're aliens?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, I don't know. but
I'd like to think it.
Yeah,
But the Bob Lazar,
I'd love that.
you've
I'd
seen the
love
Bob
that idea.
Lazar. You've seen
Yeah.
Bob Lazar. You know, so that's a very interesting story, and especially, you know, you said you've been to Area 51, and he worked at, was it S1? Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
S1
something
or
like that. Yeah, I've
something like
forgotten
that.
those. Yeah, but it's yeah.
And so, for anyone that doesn't know who Bob Lazar is, he was a oh geez, what was he?
He was he worked in
I've gone blank.
engineering department.
He
Basically,
was in engineering, yeah. So
Yeah.
his job, he was hired by. This is supposedly the story, and he's stuck with this story for over 20 years. It hasn't changed at all. So he was employed by the government, and he believes that there was 6 spacecrafts or unidentified objects that he saw,
Yeah.
but he only got to work on one. And what he was trying to do, or his job, was to debunk how this thing worked.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he was the head of propulsion. So they were trying to create a new way. I mean, they'd already designed or created some sort of vehicles of some sort, and he was in charge with his team of trying to make the thing move, and whether it was, side to side or up and down, he was in charge of propulsion. And then what was it? They came along. I guess you could say he sort of stumbled across it, didn't he? He came. What was he? What was it? He was walking down a hallway or something, and
he said, "Yeah,"
and then saw something through a window, and yeah.
And they've never said like exactly what and he doesn't say that he knew what it was, and he even said that he might have just seen his mind played a trick on him, and he saw something that. So he's never come out and said, I saw an alien, but he saw something he didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
He walked past the window. But this is one of those things about a conspiracy theory coming true, because he actually spoke about an element that it didn't exist. That element didn't exist. We didn't have it.
Right. Yeah, for another 30 odd years or something, yeah.
For another 30 years. So, he's been called...
it was some new element, wasn't it? And they found it on there, and they were like, "What the hell is this thing?" And it wasn't another 30 years until humans had got their hands on it. Were able to reproduce it. Yeah. So, it's weird. It's very weird.
I think there's a few things to the story that still to this day, like they're only now starting to become true. They're starting to like get the evidence for it. So a lot of the stuff that he said then, what he was called crazy. And I think the only reason why he really reached out to the media in the first place was he was scared that someone was trying to kill him.
Yeah.
So he came out and said,
Well, they did erase him, didn't they? They denied that he ever worked at all for any government agency. They'd never heard his name. And I think the problem with that stuff is when you accept a job like that, you open yourself up to being erased, and that's almost what they did to him. He
I think the university,
his passport, his name, all sorts of stuff, and they basically made him not exist.
Even the university that he supposedly studied at had no records of him.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah.
Even though all of his friends said I was in his class for 10 years, he was definitely there.
We used to smoke weed out the back. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But the government said no, he didn't exist, and the university, they had no idea who he was and all the rest of it. It's a crazy.
It is an interesting story.
Yeah.
And because I think once again that Netflix have a documentary on Bob Lazar on there. That's where. Where you can watch it. So if you haven't seen that documentary, it's a great watch. It's a good story. If anything, it's a bloody good story.
Yeah.
So
that's good. Well, it's definitely an eye opener, and I mean it's a good starting point as well for anyone who wanted to sort of have a look into some of the theories there.
Because there's a lot of movement around this topic at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's huge at the minute. Yeah. They're really, at the end of the day, it's never going to go. It's always going to be a hot topic because there's just that sense of what the hell about it, people. Yeah, I mean, we're only sort of now really getting to understand a lot of the species that live on our own planet. Like the Amazon and places like that, we're still discovering species of insects and animals and stuff every day. But to think that we possibly could be sharing, whatever it is that we have here with other life forms that we don't know of, I think scares people. So there's always going to be questions, like, are they not there? What do they want? I
think the thing is, exactly. What do they want? I think one other thing is now with the technology that we have, and to be able to capture things, I think there was a footage now of an unidentified object that's in the sky and it just drops. So there was a pilot flying and he saw this, they've got it captured, and it just drops. Like at the speed of light, just drops and just then hovers at that spot and then takes off. And, so now like when these little things start to happen, all of a sudden the government are like, oh shit, we've got to give them something. We've got to tell them something. So they're like, oh, I think, we have had some contact with something.
We saw a thing and
a
couple of things and But anyway, look that way.
Yeah, coronavirus.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's, I don't know. I mean, it's a weird topic, aliens. And I haven't looked a lot into it because it's deep. You know, like it's.
Where do you start?
Yeah, there's just so much to look at. You know, and there's so many theories out there that. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to. Yeah, I think you could go insane just reading about it.
Oh, you would.
Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
What's people that have seen, objects in the sky or life forms, when maybe they've had a couple too many cans out on the, on the back deck, like you just, you don't know. And you don't know who you're taking the word of, like, is it, I mean, even then, do these people have a reason? Like, especially when you've got the, in America is where a lot of these things tend to happen. When you've got the likes of NBC and Fox News and CBS and all this willing to drop $200K on you for a story about seeing Bigfoot in your backyard. I mean, I think this is why a lot of people say stuff, So what's true, what's not?
I think I've even used it an excuse that I got abducted when I went on a week bender and didn't come home. I got abducted. I thought, it's not Tuesday? I thought I was gone for an hour.
That was your excuse for why you were walking like a cowboy on Monday. Anal probe.
Yeah. I just got back from the Mardi Gras and I thought I was only gone for an hour. But one thing that I've really been looking into a lot lately, and I guess it's on a similar topic, is the pyramids. And also there's a lot of structures that are out in the middle of the desert that, they're basically engraved in these massive stone structures that the detail on these buildings, so to speak, is immaculate. And they're so high up. Well, they didn't have scaffold.
Yeah.
So like how anyone did any of this. And also when they then go inside these structures of how precise everything is inside is immaculate. Yeah. And I know that there was, I can't recall where this one was, but I know that their government actually hid it for a long time. I think it was somewhere in Egypt or something. They've hidden these structures. So it's only sort of more recent where they're able to do a bit of research into it, and they still don't know who did it. And with the pyramids, we can't replicate them today.
Yeah.
And you're a builder, so you know more about like, architects and laser cutting stone and all these types of things. We can't replicate them today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the one thing with pyramids that's always stuck with me is, I'm pretty sure it's the biggest one. The Great Pyramid is the main one. Well, that they've since done, I can't remember, I might say this wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm on the right track.
We've said this whole podcast wrong.
They've since done a lot of, same thing now. We have the technology of lasers, right? So we can use lasers to measure things. So we can get exact measurements using lasers to find out the positioning of things on the planet, first of all, but also where they are in terms of the environment around them. And the Great Pyramid, they were saying, what was it? At a particular time of the day, I think it was exactly on 6 p.m. at sunset or whatnot, it pointed perfectly due north. And it was something within 5 millimeters or something. And you think... Yeah. Like
true north, isn't it? True north is what the term is called. True north, yeah.
We couldn't do that now, like it's... it probably could, but to get it that accurate without the technology we have now is crazy. Yeah.
And there is like... there's pictures of like aliens, so to speak, or I think there's even a helicopter or something engraved in the pyramids. And there's not just the pyramids in Egypt. There's pyramids all around the world. A lot of people just think of the main ones in Egypt, but I think the Mayans had pyramids. There was
yeah. Well, I mean, God, I was trying to think. What is it? Chichen Itza, because that's pretty much basically a pyramid. It's not exactly. It's got the sort of it's more of a sort of square shape, but it's basically pyramid in that shape.
In a pyramid shape.
Yeah, but just square.
Yeah. Just square.
Yeah.
But look, the thing is, it's just how they even did it, and they didn't even. So supposedly, like, they didn't cut the stones and everything on site. They were bought from miles away and dragged across the land, and then put into place.
Yeah.
So how they even did that, and supposedly, like, even the insides of the tombs and everything inside, like you're saying, that where they're structured and whatnot, they actually it's a numerology, and they align with the stars and all these different things that we just couldn't do it. We just couldn't do it now like that, to that length. Or we wouldn't. Why would we? Why would we do it like that? Is the other thing. Like, is there a message there that we don't know?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether, because they say with a lot of there's a lot of prophecy, behind a lot of the Egyptian writing and whatnot, the hieroglyphics and whatnot. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked a great deal into it, but yeah, I don't know why they did them in the first place, how they got them so accurate. Oh, I've got no idea. I really don't know.
Because personally, I just want to be dug in a hole in the backyard.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But to have a tomb that points to true north,
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It just sounds, it sounds out of this world to do it. So, like, then I go down the rabbit hole of, like, looking into these and then thinking, well, maybe, the earth as we know it, there was something around before even us. There was a civilization that was even around before all this. Maybe it was, maybe this technology that they had somehow got lost in whatever, because I think there is, I've spoken about it before in the podcast as well. There's apes now that are in the Stone Age. So they're starting to use stones as tools. So whether or not, like, we are now the next thing, there were things before us that were doing things, and did they end up destroying themselves? And then now we are, we're sort of getting to the stage, and we're going to kill ourselves with AIs or whatever. So
I don't know, and it's an interesting theory, isn't it?
I did see this thing. I saw this thing the other day, and they haven't been able to find out what it was. I can't remember the name of it, but it was this. It was only about this big, and they couldn't move it, so they hadn't been able to X-ray it. And now there's an X-ray. So for years and years, like these philosophers and all these different people would try and crack the code of what this thing was that is like thousands and thousands of years old. I think it was 100 BC. So it's a few thousand years old, right? And and now with this X-ray machine they actually moved it from one country. It was easier to move the X-ray machine to the country. They scanned it, and they found that it's actually a computer. And what it does is, have you seen it? And it actually measures, like, time, and it can, like, take events into it, and also, like, future events as well. And they're like, the first computer that we built was the size of a room. This was this big.
I remember. They found something similar in I think it was somewhere like the Bahamas, somewhere like that, on some deserted island. There was some guy had found a treasure map of sorts that he followed to the X and came across this, what they're calling a computer. To me, it looks like a bloody rock, but but they're calling it a computer purely based off the technology that's on the rock,
That's right,
Yeah, it's crazy, Who knows? I mean, even you know, like you were saying before with the rocks, you know, it reminds me, like from the pyramids, it reminds me of Machu Picchu, you know,
Yeah,
because the rocks themselves, when they were put together, they're put together so precisely that you can't slide a piece of paper between them.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. I think the pyramids are the same. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure they like butt up right against each other, and that's why they're
yeah,
saying that there was no laser cutting then. Like
yeah.
even today
Well,
with laser cutting, there's
yeah.
supposedly still be a slight gap.
Well, the guy explained it to me how they did it, you know, because obviously if you get one rock, it's going to have some form of concave and the other one's going to have a convex on it. They'd rub a rock on the pointy
Yeah,
edge and they'd bang it into the other one, which would then leave a marking, and they'd know to grind that
that
section out.
spot.
And then they do it again and they bang them together. And then until you put them together, pull them apart and there's no mark, or the whole thing is
Yeah,
a mark because they fit perfectly, you know, like it's pretty crazy.
and this is when they
Whether
say that
they
like,
did that, I don't know. What's that?
and this is when they say things like, you know, what good could slaves do?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you couldn't do something like this without them. You couldn't do that today.
Oh,
People
no,
just wouldn't
no
do
way.
it.
No,
You
no
know,
way.
so
Yeah. The manpower to lift. I mean, some of those stones, I mean, yeah, they're 3-4 ton each. You
yeah.
know, like, you
And
know,
as I said, dragging them across the land. Yeah, they drag them for
yeah,
miles.
across sand as well, you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, you've only got to walk in sand to realise how difficult it is, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah. Hence why I hate the bloody beach. But, but
And
yeah, I'm
sand's
just,
a conspiracy as well. No, I'm just, I
oh,
don't
I
have
was going
what
to
I'm
say,
saying.
Jesus Christ, I haven't heard of that one. My
Uh,
God. There's, like
but
the whole
one of the
planet
funniest
was
ones,
made out of glass and melted or something.
one of the funniest, I know it's got nothing to do with what I want to talk about today, but you mentioned the flat Earth. And the flat
Oh,
Earth
yeah.
theory, they actually believe that Australia doesn't exist and we're all paid
Oh, yeah.
actors.
We're all actors, yeah. Yeah, I know. Where's my payday? Haven't seen a
Yeah,
penny.
the only
Yeah.
pay that I'm getting is from JobKeeper at the moment.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen a bloody penny for my year's labour.
Yeah, I know.
Right. They're a pisser. Some of the
Oh,
flat
it's
earthers, I
fantastic.
think what's the main guy, Mark something or other.
I'm
Um,
not sure.
and he's sort of the main guy, you know, and the flat earthers just worship the bloke, you know, and he
Is
travels the planet doing shows and you know, and they're all quite expensive, as you can imagine, you know,
of course,
because
yeah, yeah,
it's like any cult, you know, it's
yeah.
amazing how hungry for money cult leaders are, you know, like Jesus, you know. For a guy that's been dead for 2020 years, he's got a massive hunger for cash, you
It
know.
just
Like,
loves money. That's
yeah,
the one thing that always got me. Is like, if this is real and these teachings are meant to be good, why the fuck do we have to give so much money? Why is people
oh no,
giving so much money?
oh no,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, that flat Earth guy, he travels the world doing it. I watched the doco not long ago that had him quite, you know, featured in it quite a lot. But they were the documentary makers themselves were just following them, and you know their main focus in life is to prove that the Earth is flat,
Yeah,
by any means necessary. So it just so happened when they were filming it, when they were filming the doco, these guys were actually scheduled to do their own experiments,
yeah,
to prove it. And it just, honestly, I was actually laughing out loud on the couch watching it because they're there and they've said to him, look, you know, we'll give you a bit of an outline of what we're doing here, but afterwards we'd prefer it if you sort of kept the cameras away, you know, so we can concentrate on whatnot.
yeah.
So these guys respected their wishes and did so, but they didn't turn the audio off. So these guys they didn't request them to turn the audio off. So these guys are
Yeah,
over there and they're doing this experiment, and the experiment was basically they were going to go, you know, from point A to point B was whatever distance it is to show curvature in the Earth.
yeah, yeah,
We're going to shoot a laser beam across, so that they were going to stand the laser beam at, say, I don't know, just for once, they say exactly 10 meters off the ground. They were going to go
Yeah.
this distance away and set up a board with a hole in it at exactly 10 meters off the ground. And that should mean if the Earth's flat, the laser should shoot through the hole and trigger their little device that they had.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're doing it. And you just hear on the audio, it's like, oh, it doesn't work. It's like, what do you mean it doesn't work? Like, you know, why don't you try lifting it up a bit? So the bloke, you know, he lifts it up 100. Ding, 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 ding. It's like,
it's flat. It's flat. It's flat.
Yeah.
And for anyone that doesn't know what the flat Earth is, I'm sure there's a lot of people who haven't heard of it. The idea is that the Earth is flat because there's no curvature, and when you're flying in a plane, you know, you can't see curvature in the horizon ahead and all these things. So they believe that Antarctica is actually surrounds the whole outskirts of the flat Earth, and that there's military bases set up there so you can't actually get to Antarctica. Otherwise you get shot or whatever.
They pretty much have just made life a giant Truman Show. Pretty much.
And there's a dome above the Earth as well. So I've seen like things on YouTube where they shoot a missile up and it goes flying up and then just goes dong and just stops.
Yeah. I saw one, honestly. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to keep a straight face saying it. Right? A while ago, right, this guy, he had a picture, he had a globe, right? He had this picture of the globe, and it had, you know, how you see all the oceans and all the continents and whatnot on it. It was a normal globe. And he'd mucked around with it, and he'd said, you know, if the Earth was really round, then why does all the water stay around it? And he'd gone, this is what it would really look like. And he had the Earth, and the water was just like that at the bottom. It had all pooled at the bottom like he'd poured it in a cup. Oh, Christ.
It's fantastic. And this is why I love conspiracies, you know, because there is some craziness to go with them. And the scary part at the moment with what's going on, and I think I discussed it with you the other day when we were talking about doing this podcast, is that when you and I went down the rabbit hole, say, you know, when we're in year 11, or I think, you know, you're a couple of years older than me, but in that time, no one else around us, you might have had one or two friends that you were doing it with, where everyone else around you would pull you out of that rabbit hole. Whereas now you jump online, and with everything that's going on, there's 1,000 other people that agree with what you're saying. So you feed off each other in this way, and that everyone else must be wrong because so they struggle. Like now, for example, when something like this happens, we can take on, you know, what's bullshit and what's not. In a sense, like we can't always be right, but we sort of know what to question because we've sifted through so much bullshit in the past with conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing with them. You know, I mean, we are, like you say, we spoke about it before, and you know, with so many years of, I mean, we've only touched on a couple of things today, you know, but my main sort of thing I've looked into over the years has been the government conspiracies that have actually come true, you know, that were told to be garbage, but they actually became true. And when you do really find out that some of these things really are true, the government stuff, especially the government that's supposed to be here to protect us, it really does make you think, and you do start to question everything, and it's dangerous. But the thing is, like, some people have the mental capacity to be able to just go, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? Some others, like we're seeing a lot of now with, I think a lot of these anti-maskers, I'm even seeing in some of my other friends, personal friends, that are great people, normal, level-headed people, good jobs, good educations and whatnot. They've gone nuts. They've gone crazy because it is. They are dangerous. If you don't have the right brain to be able to sort of take a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B, and decipher what's garbage and what's not, or even just be able to handle the thought of, if this is correct, what does this mean? They can be very dangerous, you know.
And I think that, like, from my point of view as well, like I've got my own small business. So when they force you to shut down from working, already things start going off in your head. and
Yeah.
you're already angry because you can't just go to work. You can't we're forced to go bankrupt, so to speak. That's what it feels like. So people do get very angry, and but look, we're really we're pushing time at the moment here, but I love discussing this topic with you, and I'd love to get you on here another time and actually run through some of those government, the ones that have come true. I reckon we do an episode on conspiracy theories that actually did come true.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah.
Because I mean, like
good.
These ones that I've discussed, like I know a little bit about these ones, whereas a lot of the government stuff, that's your department. That's
yeah. No, well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just something I took an interest in, and yeah, I mean, I as the average person probably bloody hates it. I love politics, especially American politics. Absolutely love it. And I just sort of came into it from there. And it is, for me, it's interesting. I know for the average person, it's probably just, God, why the hell would you want to bother with that? But I just find it interesting. We're all different. We all enjoy different things. And but some of them are great. So, some of the ones that were conspiracies that, that started off like some of the ones we covered today, aliens and things like that. But people just went, yeah, right. But a couple of years later, when, the sort of freedom of information documents have become available and people have actually put in freedom of information paperwork to get them, have realised, my God, it was true the whole time, and and now they're only really starting to delve into these things and go, okay, so they're admitting that it's true, but they've left all of this documentation's all redacted, everything's blacked out, and you just think they're only just starting to really realise some of the stuff that the government does, and that they're not all just, smiles. So
let's do it. Let's tee it up shortly, I reckon. Getting into some of these topics. So the only I am probably more getting into sort of the American politics now and everything. I find it very fascinating. And especially around Trump and Biden at the moment, that to me is like the all-time greatest showdown of politics.
Yeah, it's Dumb and Dumber. It's like the whole thing. And honestly, what I sit back and, like I say, I love American politics. Every single morning, it's one of the first things I do. I have a couple of their political commentators that I follow, and they're moderates, so that they don't have a side. They just give the facts the way it is, and they talk about how ridiculous both sides are equally. And like I say, I enjoy it, but sometimes I think I enjoy it because of how ludicrous it is. It's crazy. Americans are damned regardless of what goes on.
Biden can't put two words together.
In different ways. In different ways, they're damned, So
Biden can't talk. Have you heard him talk?
Oh, I know, yeah.
Have you seen all the fails?
Yeah, I remember about 2 weeks ago, he mistook his
wife for his sister.
Yeah,
no, wasn't he? He goes, "This is my sister." And that's actually this.
Yeah. One of my favourite ones.
That's a mistake you don't want to make.
Oh yeah, the other one especially with the whole Black Lives Matter thing going on at the moment. The one he said.
Yes, this is brilliant. Well, about the
poor kids are just as bright as white kids.
As white kids, yeah. How do you look past that? Imagine just that. How could you talk your way out of it? I meant.
And then 2 weeks later, he went on Jimmy Kimmel and said, "If you don't vote for me, you're not black."
I haven't seen that one. Did you see the one where he said something like, that violence towards women, and there's never, a good reason to hit a woman unless you're acting in self-defense, which is very, very rare, and we need to punch this thought out of us.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. He's wild, man. But then you got Trump, on the other side of the spectrum. sitting on his Twitter account all day, you know, and it's like, you know, haven't you got
They
better
shouldn't have
things to
Twitter.
do?
They shouldn't
Yeah.
have Twitter. But
Haven't you got
he
better
watches.
things to do? You've got, you know, you look at it now and you think, how the bloody hell can a global pandemic be your second biggest problem? You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes no sense.
He's a funny man. He watches 8 hours of TV a day and
Yeah.
drinks like 12 cans of Diet Coke or something a day.
Oh yeah, he's wired.
He's
Yeah.
But let's get into this topic another time, mate. I've thoroughly
for sure.
enjoyed and especially appreciate you taking the time out, you know, your
no
family
worries, mate.
time and coming on here and doing a podcast with me. So I really appreciate it. And I've thoroughly
No
enjoyed
worries,
it, mate.
No, I've enjoyed it as well, mate. It's good. Yeah, good to talk about stuff that interests me first of all, but also just to catch up as well. So,
And hopefully shortly we'll be able to do one actually together in the studio. It's a bit hard, like, you know, like it's easy to stuff up and cut each other off on a Zoom call. It's it doesn't flow quite as well as just sitting face to face and actually having a beer together and doing it. Hopefully by the next one we can do that. So
cool.
I'll nominate you as my what is it? Your one friend that can come to your house. My sponsor. So thanks again, and thanks for watching episode 18 of Trapani's Choice. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we do, talking nonsense about conspiracy theories, and hopefully you've learned something too. So thanks for watching.